Back on Buckeye Football Weekly with a game to play for the Bucks on the road to Minnesota. We'll get to those highlights just a little bit later, but also with a facility to look at here. And when you have your name hung on a facility of this size and stature, you had to do something great within this community.
Well, it's amazing what Woody Hayes did. Everyone knows about the championships and the All-Americans and all those kinds of things, but the lives that he touched, I just ran into a professor this week who was talking about that she was an undergrad when Woody was coaching here, and that she was at the commencement when he spoke, and to this day she remembers the words he spoke at that commencement. And so beyond the victories and the direct touch he had on the lives of his players, what he did that reaches far beyond is incredible.
Well, he was captivating for certain to hear people tell the stories about it in his office. And he'd say, come in for a minute, and you'd be there for 2 hours, talking. But an academician, as you mentioned, hearing from a colleague like that, a historian as well. So very interesting what he had to do with on-campus life the whole time.
Well, no question. He cared about what was going on in the world. He went overseas and visited the soldiers in Vietnam a number of times. He always had an opinion militarily and politically and so forth, and always wanted to make sure there was good conversation about that. And it wasn't just about football. It wasn't just about academics, although he loved academia. He was a very worldly person, and they say he used to go over to the faculty club and sit at the open seating table, and as professors would sit and discuss world affairs and give opinions and so forth, Woody was there, often and wasn't afraid to offer his opinion.
Well, certainly he was into a lot of things that made him a well-rounded person, and he got his players to be very well-rounded. Obviously, the value of a college degree was important. He got that across, as well as knowing your playbook.
Well, there's no doubt. I remember Brian Bashnagel telling the story about when he was drafted by the Chicago Bears and went to play for the Bears and, of course, won the Super Bowl and all. And he said every time he'd come back to campus, Woody was not happy with him because Brian had told him 4 years earlier that his goal was law school, and Woody was disappointed he was playing the NFL rather than going to law school. So there's no doubt he made an impression.
Now, that'll draw people. You make an impression on the community at large. Out of the 28 years that he coached, Ohio State led in attendance 21 of those years and was second the other 7.
Well, there's no question. The excitement, the energy that he created with his excellent teams and the way his teams played, not just how good they were, but the way that they played and all of the things that we're enjoying today. The people going like crazy trying to get tickets and having to build new seats to our stadium and opportunity to build a building like this. So much of that groundwork. I was thinking the other day that I think if you add Coach Cooper, Coach Bruce, and I together with the number of years of service, we're just right around where he was in one person. And you think about all those games he won and all that stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah, and you being a coach, you know what an influence a coach, a mentor can have. And to look at the list of coaches, the Lou Holtzes and the Bo Schembechers, and guys who went on to become great coaches in their own respects, there's value in that you can't tap into, really.
Well, it's something. In our graduate assistant room in this building, they are putting up the picture of every person that came here as a grad assistant or an assistant coach that became either college or pro head coaches, and they say they have 38 people, and most of which worked for Coach Hayes. And so you're right. It's incredible the coaching legacy that he has left. And it wasn't just the people that worked for him. I know my dad, being a coach at Baldwin Wallace College, he was a disciple of Woody Hayes. When Woody let him start having water at practice, when I was playing at Baldwin Wallace, if Woody said they could have it, my dad said we could have it. That's just the way it was.
Well, you had the chance to meet him a couple times.
I did.
But your dad knew him.
Right. Yeah, he and my dad were close, in the same state and so forth. In fact, in my dad's final days, Woody had someone bring over to my dad's hospital room and spend a number of hours in the last week of his life. That's the kind of person Woody Hayes was.
Yeah, and knowing that, knowing what we know about him, the 5 national championships and the scores of All-Americans that he's put through this program, he would probably not mention them first.
No, I'm sure he would come up with something. If someone asked him what was your greatest memory, he would bring up something about some person that he had a chance to interact with, or something outside of the game of football. Now, maybe deep down, and he might not say it, some of those games against the school up north he would think about. But the world was a big place to Woody Hayes.
During the renovation of this building, in fact, this wing where we're sitting, there was a chalkboard uncovered that had plans for a book and Woody Hayes inscriptions on it. That had to be like an archaeological football find.
That's got notes for a book, and we titled it, Woody's Final Thoughts, Football, the Military, and His Country, because that's what was very, very important to him. And you could spend hours and hours trying to decipher what's on this chalkboard, and whoever put the plexiglass on it shortly after Coach Hayes passed, thank goodness, whoever put it behind that cabinet in the equipment room for 20 years and forgot about it, thank goodness we were renovating, and now this is special.
That is awesome. I know we got to look at that. And we have plenty more to come on this week's edition of Buckeye Football Weekly. Keep it right here.